Jim, thank you for having me back.
We love having you here.
It's nice to be here. Well, I'll just start talking about my great run in the marathon. I've run quite a bit over the years, and I decided that one of these things I wanted to do was to run a marathon. And as I'm getting older, I'm thinking I'm just going to have to just do it. And I literally ran myself into the ground because I hurt myself 3 weeks before training, my knee. And my doctor, that is John Barrasso, my doctor, we're on the Senate floor and he's feeling my knee. I'm like, this looks weird, for C-SPAN. And we decided it was a meniscus. I decided that. And I said, what should I do? I really want to run this. I've been training. I don't know what to do. And he goes, if you can take the pain, you're not going to hurt yourself anymore. Just go out and do it. Well, along about mile 18, what was I thinking? I ran into my daughter came down to watch, and I had some family along the route. And if you remember that day, it was terrible weather, terrible weather. Did anybody else in the room run it or out that day? Because it was pouring rain and it was chilly. But all I kept telling myself was, all I have to do is finish, and I did. And so I'm never doing that again. And my doctor has now told me that my knee's no longer hurting. It took about literally 5 to 6 weeks to stop hurting. So I ran the other day just to kind of test it out, and it's doing okay. But it's a really fun event. It's fun because so many people are out cheering you on, and they have signs that say, you're running better than Congress, and all these kinds of different, the kids are dressed up, so it's a really festive event. So if you don't want to run it and you just kind of want to watch it, it's fun to see. I did hit the medical tent midway through looking for some more Advil, but they were only giving Tylenol out, which whatever, I'll take it. But anyway, I'm glad I have the medal now, and I literally could not walk after I finished. I couldn't even walk to the car hardly. My husband's like, "Come on," I'm like, "I can't." So anyway, that was a good day to be able to do that. And let's see what's going on. I don't really have a planned speech, which I'm sure very, very thrilled about. So I'm going to talk about how I became chair of Homeland Security Appropriations Subcommittee. No controversy there at all. So what we're looking at now on our side, on the Senate side, is we were able to get through our full committee of $5 billion for the wall. Obviously, this is where the president's big area of emphasis is for him. And we were able to get sufficient amount of dollars for the immigration, for the beds, which is another area that the president, and there's a big contention between our Republican and Democrat sides. So we were able to kind of settle that on the Senate, but the House had zero for the wall. So we have been miles apart. We are getting closer together. So the way I see this whole thing folding together, because the press keeps asking me, do you think we can get these all done by the end of next week? And I said, I still think it's possible, because if my bill settles, everything else settles. Because I have to, the president's got to be satisfied, I think, with the wall number, and that there's no riders on there that would handcuff him in terms of being able to transfer. Although I thought it was interesting yesterday, a court in Texas ruled that the president could not take defense money and transition it to the wall. So we'll have to see where this all goes. So we are getting closer. Louise Roble-Allard is my counterpart on the House side. I served with her, you served with her. We have a great relationship, so we're able to pick up the phone and call one another. And when you get right down to it, there's a lot of decisions that, as they say, have to be bumped upstairs. But if you ask Shelby, like, how is it going, Senator Shelby, I'll go over to him on the floor and I go, how are we doing on negotiations? I get the same answer every time, fine. And he puts his hands up like this, like he's praying. But I tell you what, one of the great experiences I had was last year. We went to the Oval Office to negotiate with the president to tell him that we were able to get. At that point, I think we got. I can't remember what the exact figure was, maybe 2.4 for the wall in last year's bill, and we wanted to convince the president that this is as good as you're going to get and that you need to accept it. And it was me and Shelby and Kirsten Nielsen was the Secretary of Homeland Security, she was there. Mulvaney was there. I'd never really been in a pressing kind of meeting in the Oval Office, and the president's sitting there, and I was going to get to observe Senator Shelby, and I'd never really been around him all that much to see what he does. He's an old school guy. He was magnificent, really. It was so fun to watch because he starts talking about Bear Bryant and Alabama football, and the president's just eating it up, talking about who's the best quarterback ever, and I'm just sort of watching, listening. And every time the president, as he does, would get off into a different tangent, then Shelby would sort of rein him back in. Now, we got this 2.5, I think it was 2.5 for the wall. It's pretty good. That's as good as we're going to get, and we need to take it. And then the president would go off on some other topic, as he does, and Shelby would bring him back. Now you know where we are on this. In any event, it was a futile venture, as you recall, because the government got shut down. But in the end, we were right, because we had that much money in there for the wall, and in the end, it ended up with 1.375. And a miserable shutdown of government, which is miserable and was miserable. So anyway, we're back at it again, and we're working with the president hand in glove, and also with our counterparts on the House side. So hopefully, I think the theory is there's going to be at least 2 bills, minibuses that'll go through, and we'll see if we can get that far. Like some of my counterparts on some of the other committees, chairmen are saying that their bills are pretty settled. There's a few little open items, but. So we're closing in on it. So that's good news for our appropriations. And now it could all disintegrate, and we could end up into a continuing resolution until February. So that leads me to the next subject. When Senator McConnell gave us our schedules this year, which was just last week, we got a schedule for 11 months. There was nothing for January. It's just a big blank. And it's very frustrating. It's going to be very frustrating. I'm trying to plan. I'm up for re-election this year. You know what that means. You're out traveling around, trying to garner your resources, and a lot of that takes you out of state and in state trying to do that. You can't plan any of this. It's going to be very frustrating. So what we're hearing is that when the House pushes we expect the impeachment resolutions over, that we will then begin January the 2nd is what we're charged with being ready January the 2nd, although I think it may push to the 5th, because the 2nd is a Thursday, and then the 5th is, I think, the following Monday. Would that be right? Yeah, 5th or 6th, whatever that Monday is. And then we have to be in our seats, no talking, no devices, and we're for 6 to 8 hours a day for 6 days a week, while we hear the presentation by the House managers and then the defense of the president. So there's a lot of, I think, strategy that's going to go into this in terms of how long will it be, what kind of witnesses need to be called, what kind of depositions need to be called, called for. Justice Roberts will be the presiding judge in the impeachment hearing, and he will make decisions. We will funnel our questions through him, and then he will make a decision as to whether or not they move forward any procedures. But then we can still override his opinion if we have 51 votes to be able to do that. So this is a whole new world for me. I'm very deeply sorry that it's come to this. I've been very vocal in my opposition to the process that's been gone forward in the House side. I don't think it's been a fair process. It's been so highly partisan, politicized. It's not good for the Congress. It's not good for the nation. My barometer of what people are worried about is when I go to the grocery store, and they're all like, everybody in our grocery stores are, stop. Can you guys just do what you were sent up there to do? This is just ridiculous. So we'll see what happens, because in the end I'll be a juror and I'll have to judge on the merits and see what happens there. So that is a big blank. We also have other things rolling in. We have the NDAA authorization that we'll be doing this week. We're going to be doing judges now. I'll give you a little fun fact because we know how Senator McConnell feels about this, and we all do too. But he's particularly passionate. We will have confirmed our 50th circuit judge by the end of this week, and that's in 3 years. During President Obama's 8 years 8 years, he was able to get something like 56 judges confirmed. So we are really moving fast and furious, and McConnell's put a lot of emphasis on this. More people want to be legislating than passing judges and doing administrative work, but it is important work. The courts are important, and he wants to wrap that successfully by the end of the year, and we've been very supportive of that. We met the new senator from Georgia yesterday. She came to our lunch, and we're so sorry to be losing probably one of the nicest, most genuine people I've ever met. Johnny Isaacson is just beloved by everybody. He's really struggled just moving. If you've seen him, it's just difficult for him. So he's making the right decision. He had a back surgery last summer, and I think really set him back. So we're going to miss him, but it's going to be great to have another Republican woman. And Kelly, we will welcome her into our midst, and I look forward to having her with her business background, very successful business. So with that, I'll just kind of open up to questions, and it's an honor for me to be. I do have one Donald Trump story I'll tell, because you always want me to tell my funny stories.
Yeah. Everything this morning has been great.
One story. I flew to West Virginia with the president. He can't bring his big plane because we don't have long enough runways, or you go up the side of a mountain. But we were on, and the normal protocol is the president will invite you into his little area if he wants to talk to you. You've been on a plane, I'm sure, with presidents, and it's sort of the same kind of thing. So the president had asked me if I wanted to come up and sit in his area. It was the day that Mueller testified so he's dictating his tweets. He was not tweeting himself. He was dictating, and the tweeter guy says, "Mr. President, you're winning today. You don't need to be, calling Nancy Pelosi names today." But and the president's like, "Oh yeah." But anyway, as we were getting ready to land, the president goes and looks in his restroom, looks in the mirror and stuff. As we're going to land, and how they always take big pictures and TV and stuff as you get off. And then he comes out and he looks at me and he goes, "Well, if you want to freshen up, you can use my bathroom." And I'm thinking to myself, does he think I need to freshen up, number one? But number two, I want to see the president's bathroom. Of course. So I'm going to go in there. And so as I started heading in, he turns around and looks at me and he goes, "Plenty of hairspray in there." I thought, okay, at least he has a sense of humor about all the hairspray. So anyway, with that,